But I don't know what our agendas are like then. Do you know, Ms. Clark?
April 11th is full. April 25th.
April 11th 's full?
Yep. The 25th is canceled. They're going to use town meeting, pre-town meeting in here.
Oh, that's right. We're getting kicked out of this room. The more important people are coming in. Board of Select persons.
So it's May 9th.
And I'm sorry. Oh, they were our appointing authority. I apologize for Board of Select.
Maybe they won't reappoint you now.
Well, that's okay too, Mr. Neitz.
You just got-
That's okay too.
Wonders never cease.
So it would be in May then, huh?
May 9th.
Okay.
May 9.
All right, thanks. That's,
So I have to tell you, but the board needs to vote on this request
Okay.
for continuance. And if it's an affirmative vote to allow the continuance, you're going to need to execute a document that I have here somewhere
okay.
that acknowledges that we've agreed to a continuance to that date, because some of these matters can be decided on time issues, you see.
Understood.
So we would put it over to May 9 would be the day. Does anybody care to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a
Allow the
motion
continuance to May 9.
So move, please. Thank you.
And is there a second to that?
Second.
Mr. Martin seconds Mr. Niconella's motion. Does the board care to have any discussion on that?
I just have a couple of points, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, please.
I did not sit on this when it first came to us, but I was enlisted to substitute for somebody's absence, and I had to go through and watch it all, watch the previous portion of the hearing on television and sign an affidavit that I had done that, and then came back, and then last time we continued it because of the, I would say, some of the questions that were unanswered and some of the information that we were hearing from the building department. I think we've really gone out of our way for this particular petitioner, and I, for one, will vote against the issue about continuance again, because I can't be there on the May 9th meeting, and I think that you need to get somebody else, because it's an inconvenience, and I think it's not something that I'm really fond of having a petitioner put the board through.
Yeah, I think that we all kind of get a little antsy about continuance, repetitive continuances, because after all, we'd like to get these matters heard and done, And I understand Mr. Neat's position very well. Does anybody else care to have any input to it before we proceed to a vote? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to allow for a continuance, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
So it carries 4-1.
Okay, thank you. And just to address Mr. Neat's concern, too, I did have my discussion with my client about this, and I told him we need to really focus on it. And
No, it's
So-
nothing against you, Anthony.
I
You weren't on the scene.
Yeah.
But I think, he had a long time, even from the last meeting, and we were being advised by the building department that he had not been in touch with them, as he told us he would be. He was not in touch with the assessor's office, as he told us he would be. And then 2 days before the hearing, he finds he's going to need an attorney to cover up for his own misdeeds, and you're not up to speed, so you ask for the continuance. It's not against you, but I think the petitioner hasn't warmed our hearts with his activity.
well, if he's not watching tonight, I'll make sure that he concerns there.
I would also suggest, Mr. Alba, before you leave, that we actually have that hearing next time, or it be withdrawn with prejudice.
Understood. I'll pass that on.
And I'll tell you, the only way I would agree to allow its withdrawal would be with prejudice.
Okay.
So here we have because I agree with a lot of Mr. Neat's comments. It's just, I know how many times we have to continue matters before court, so. Thank you. And that's just indicating we're continuing it over to May 9, and there'll be no resolution of the petition due to time standards, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. You have a good night. Good to
Take
see
care,
you.
Anthony.
The next petition is that of John Lyons, Jean and John Lyons of 72 Higgins Crow Road, West Yarmouth, Mass. That property is located in a zoning district. Good, come right up, please, yeah. Zoning District R25. Our applicant seeks a special permit under zoning bylaw 407.2.1 and a variance under 407.2 subparagraph 7 for a family-related apartment exceeding 800 square feet maximum requirement. Good evening. Would you tell us who you are?
Good evening,
I'm Jean Lyons.
and I'm John Lyons.
Well, good evening to both of you. Why don't you tell us all about your petition?
Well, we're here tonight because we would like to create an in-law apartment for my mother at our house. The house has unfinished attic space above the garage and kitchen that can be used. In order to access the space, a set of interior stairs is needed that can stay clear of the weather and to accommodate a stair lift. We feel the best way to do this is to build a one-car garage attached to our existing garage and put the stairs inside of it. The new garage can be used for her car as well. The new construction would be within the R25 setbacks, and the new building coverage would be 9.2%. Since the new garage would create potential living space above, we'd like to use it. This scenario creates an apartment larger than 800 square feet. So we're asking the board for a special permit and variance for a family-related accessory apartment that exceeds 800 square feet. The additional space will help my mother as she ages in place and when a walker or wheelchair may be needed. Additional space can also be used for mechanical equipment as well as storage because she is downsizing. The actual living area is smaller than the measurements on the outside because of the dormers and roof lines. The apartment will have complete housekeeping and function independently from the main house. The main house currently has 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths, so the existing 4-bedroom septic can be used. The septic was updated in 2016. We feel we have a structural hardship getting to the second floor. The relief we're asking for the extra living space is only visible from the inside. A special permit would not be needed for the additional garage only. We've tried to maintain the appearance of a one-family house by using the design of our current garage, including a shed dormer in front and jogging the front of the new garage back 2 feet. Our existing house is over 2,500 square feet, making the apartment subordinate. The entrance to the apartment will be on the right-hand side of the new garage. My wife's son and I will occupy the main house as our primary residence, and my mother will occupy the apartment. We have at least 3 off-street parking spaces, and my mother's car will be housed in the new garage. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Let's start with Mr. Neitz. Mr. Neitz, do you have any questions about the
I do.
evening?
Good evening. How much more than the 800 square feet are you looking for?
I don't, do we have a floor plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should, yeah.
Which sheet is it? What sheet is it?
Third one in.
Oh, there we go. All right, I've got it, thanks.
After speaking with the assessing department, I would say it would be 250 square feet extra. 1,050 total. Taking the measurements from the outside. I had originally said 924 after taking the measurements from the inside. Because of those roof lines and the dormer, it really moves the inside measurements, cuts off several feet, 5 feet approximately. So our garage presently is unfinished, and the measurements on the inside are 23 by 19, so a little 470 square feet, I believe, as opposed to 576 if it was taken on the outside. But in any event, it is over 800.
It's over 800.
Well, we
because
need
of
to
the-
know, how much more. I mean, we just can't grant the variance for over 800, because it might be 3,000 for, for some people.
He said it's around 1050.
But
I would call it 1050, yes.
is there any way that that could be made a little bit more compliant with the bylaw? I mean, we have a lot of these that come before us, and not all of them get approved if they're more than the 800 square feet.
Right.
And I'm just wondering whether there was any way that it could be made a little bit smaller so that it wasn't quite as non-conforming. It's on a case-by-case basis, I understand, but we do set some types of precedents when we
Right.
when we approve these, and I understand there's a new bylaw that's been proposed regarding accessory apartments, but I haven't seen that yet. I didn't open it, didn't get it yet, didn't get to
I
look
know
at
it is
it.
part of it is making the square footage bigger.
Well, I know, but
I'm
how
not sure
big
how
is that? I think there should be some compliance. Pardon me?
The new bylaw still limits.
Oh, is it still 800?
It's still 800. Okay, I thought it was going to be bigger, too.
There was discussion about it, but my understanding is the current draft, in fact, I have a copy of the current draft, I think it's still 800.
Yeah, in the draft I saw, it was still 800, yeah.
That's what I had heard, but then again, I heard
On the outside.
earlier this week that it was going to be a little bit bigger, so.
They're less than that.
Obviously, the planning board has given this a great deal of thought
I would go with 950.
and has an upcoming hearing on the proposed bylaw for the town meeting in May. And I think we have to be careful, particularly on something that's new. If we're dealing with an existing space that's a little bit bigger, because that's just the way it was built originally, it's a little bit different than having something brand new,
In other words, adding a building.
where we're
so-
adding the building itself and the square footage. So that's why I asked whether it would be possible to be a little bit more conforming.
Well, the majority of the square footage is existing.
But we're creating another dwelling unit. It doesn't matter whether it's existing really or not. When you're creating another dwelling unit, it becomes less of an accessory apartment and more of a duplex if the square footage, gets up higher than the intended smaller amount. The bylaw was intended as a family-related apartment to reflect the need for smaller space for older parents or family members, not to make every house in town a duplex. So, and that's the thinking, as I understand it, that's been associated with this topic over the last 20 years, probably. So, I didn't hear an answer to the question, so I guess I'll
The issue is the stairs. We need the stairs to get up to the second floor. And it needs to be inside. It needs to be on the interior or a stair lift and to stay clear of the weather.
Where's your secondary egress?
It is in the kitchen, our existing
The
kitchen.
existing kitchen, yeah.
Which is over
Does he
the
have a
proposed.
picture of that?
There's two stairways.
That is over our kitchen.
Oh, over here,
Yes.
okay, I see. This is the one I didn't see before. Between the bedroom and the bath.
Yes, right.
But isn't there a staircase that exists there now?
Yes, there is. That staircase
That
does exist.
staircase exists now.
Correct.
So you're adding the new staircase.
The new staircase will be inside the new garage.
Now, did you include that staircase in the computation of the square footage?
I did.
I don't know that you have.
I don't think you have to.
Well,
If we go by inside measurements, it's considerably less. It's,
Well, we can't go with
Well,
considerably
I
less.
just did the measurement of what you're showing me for the interior, and it looks to be 40 by 20. Do you agree with that?
yes.
So that's 800 square feet, which is exactly what our bylaw provides for, whether we deduct the staircase that exists or not.
That's
But
the,
a staircase exists, so I'm having a tough time, personally, I'm sorry, Mr. Needs to brought in.
No problem.
But I'm having a real tough time understanding, because we're also talking a 3-car garage, okay? And, you
two
know.
of which is in now.
And I'm having a tough time understanding why it is square footage needs to be added to accommodate an up and down two separate staircases.
It doesn't need to be added. Our main issue is having a staircase inside.
But isn't that the
This
existing?
is in our kitchen, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But the apartment would not function independently if that was the primary staircase.
and you need two.
And there's not enough room up top to accommodate the chairlift. So we have that on the new garage, but not, it wouldn't work up the top there. There just isn't the headspace, floor space. Yes, 87.
87, yeah.
And a half.
Leave that half in, okay? Every half, when matters.
Now, what was the 40 by 20 that you mentioned, Mr.
40
Chairman?
by 20 is the existing interior space. And they're adding a 16 by,
22.
16 by, what?
16 by 22 garage.
It is? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, but the living space isn't 16 by 22.
No.
The living space is only 16 by, forgive me, I'm doing this with a ruler.
So it'd be 22 by,
Wait a minute, 16 by 3.5 would be,
4 feet.
3.5 would be 12, 16, 12, 14, 16 by 14, right? So you're adding,
24 square feet.
does anybody have a calculator?
224 square feet.
All right, there you go. My associate to my right, I'm the one that complains about people not speaking into mics, and here I am not speaking into a mic. I apologize. So forgive me all at home, please. The words I said were not worthy of repeating, but, so 224 square feet in the addition. Thank you, Mr. Nicanello, my human calculator companion.
1,024 square feet in total.
Yeah. Okay. I apologize, Mr. Neitz, for jumping in on your
No,
inquiry.
this is a communal effort, so I'm happy to,
Yeah, but we got to maintain some order in life, so.
well, as long as it's the chairman that's out of order, that's fine. You can declare you're not out of order. I still didn't get a definitive answer from the petitioner as to whether or not there was any way to reasonably become a little bit more compliant with the bylaw.
There could be possibly less finished off on the upstairs. It is-
Well, that's what I'm asking, because if you call it something storage and it remains storage, you would be more compliant with the bylaw.
I see.
And it becomes easier for us in the future to justify why yours is 1024 and everybody else is being restricted to 800.
Actually, the bylaw has the word storage in it, too.
Does it have storage, including storage? I thought it was, I didn't think it was.
Storage and closet.
My-
Yeah, and I
my
think for
mistake.
that very reason.
Yeah, my
Because
mistake.
storage very often becomes closets and living space.
That's all I have at the moment, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Thank you.
Mr. Martin.
It's probably enough.
First of all, I think it's a very nice-looking house and a very
It is.
nice-looking addition, and I believe I see the reasons for it in terms of the family wanting to maintain a two-car garage, and maybe the other bay for the garage being for the in-law, and having the separate stairway there. I mean, everything you're doing certainly makes sense to me. I
We
have
use actually use the garage as our kind of a workshop.
Yeah. Okay. An awful lot of the square footage is in that big bath and closet, actually. And I think that 800 square feet, my personal feeling, is kind of small for a lot of these things, and really, that should be part of the bylaw, that should be increased somewhat. Not a huge amount, but in today's living, even for one person, I don't think that this is a huge amount of space. Like I said, most of the space is in the bathroom and a closet, and I don't see that we're merely accomplishing anything by saying you got to have a smaller bathroom and a smaller closet. It's still one bedroom, not even really a bedroom. It's more of a studio setup than anything. And I think it looks very nice. I think it's a good sizable lot, and I actually don't have any issues with it, despite the fact I don't necessarily like to start precedent either. On the other hand, looking at this and the reasons for it and how it's working into the existing two-car garages, expansion attic, I guess, and some additional expansion space, and trying to get the two stairs, which again I can understand. I don't have a big problem with it.
Mr. Nicanello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really have any questions, but thank you for going through this whole process and investing in our town. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I understand the hardship with your mom, and you're trying to accommodate her. She's probably relocating or something, and
Yes.
you folks are helping her out. It's a very well-designed, as my fellow board member says. It's hidden off to the street, So the three-car garage really won't be seen from Higgins Scroll Road, is from what I can take it. It has a funky setup with the neighbor and everything. You guys like share a driveway or something? or-
Share that little
Yeah.
road, yeah.
Well, that's very nice neighborly of you, yeah. It is over the 800 square feet, but I do understand that you need a little extra room. Is your mom in a wheelchair maybe, or?
No, but, no, she's not, but we did take that into
Right.
consideration, walkers or wheelchairs.
Correct, yeah, which then you're gonna need a little more room, so. Those are all my comments. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Britta?
My only comment is the extra space is about 20, it's about a 25% increase over what would be allowed. That's a lot of space. It's 25% over, the maximum right now is 800.
Right.
I just, it's a big bathroom, it's a big closet. Are you concerned about the precedent-setting nature of these? The board's been through this far longer than we have. But every time you chip away at the guidelines and the requirements, it's such a precedent that becomes the benchmark against which a lot of conversations are.
Thanks.
On the other hand, I understand the necessity for with your parents and trying to accommodate them living within a reasonable, area.
Yes.
Makes it attractive. I'm just concerned about the 25%. That's a lot of extra space. It doesn't seem like a lot when you're talking about 800. It's now 1,000. It's over 1,000 square feet. By your calculation, would be just over 1,000. The design is good. It's not, no one's objected to it. It won't be visible from the street. But then you're gonna have this apartment, whatever happens to your mother, she might move out, she might go down to Naples with Mr. Martin.
I don't think so, but I thought we were going to keep it as a family.
Right.
It would turn into a guest room.
Right.
We actually have no other guest room in the house.
Those are my only
But we could put a condition on it that it stays with this one owner. Anyways.
No, that's a lot of expense to restrict it like that. I think it would stay as a family-related apartment
Yeah.
and be restricted as a
It
family-related
really couldn't be,
Right,
really
right.
couldn't be a guest suite. It needs to be a family.
Yes, I understand.
Oh, I meant a guest room as far as
It's part of the,
our
it's part of
guests.
the
our
house,
per-
yeah. I mean,
You
it
don't mean a
couldn't
guest
be-
I
house,
didn't
right?
mean a guest house,
Couldn't be
no.
rented out seasonally.
Careful what words you
No,
use here,
no,
okay?
no, we're not into that.
All right.
You can tell by our fence, we're very private people.
Anything else, Ms. Britta?
No, I'm finished.
So I'm a little confused. I understand the relief you need on 407.2.1 for what is the one less parking, off-road parking space. I get that. But then I look for a reference to 407.2, subparagraph 7. I don't know, unless I'm looking at an old bylaw, and it says 2018, I can't find that. 407.2, subparagraph 7. Please, if somebody can find it, that's great, because I don't know what relief you're asking for.
Just the additional square footage, the extra,
Point two, point, all right,
You got it.
that it
okay.
exceed
Mea culpa.
800.
I got it. Mea culpa. So, I want to tell you that in the not-too-distant past, we had somebody who wished to add a exterior nonconformity, create an exterior nonconformity, to permit an elevator to rise to the third floor, which wasn't permitted habitable space in any event. Whoever sat here might remember that. And they were creating an exterior nonconformity by doing it. In other words, they were encroaching into a rear setback or a side setback or a front setback, depending upon which plan they came in on several occasions to try to get relief. And this is a distinguishable petition because there is no greater nonconformity being created save for the issues that need addressing under 407. And I think that's important to point out that this is a far less sort of request than has previously been presented to us when the request is to increase the nonconformity of an existing structure. This structure standing on its own could be built. The only issue is, can you use that as habitable space? I'm very concerned about an extra 224 square feet because we have a mandate, and that mandate is 800 square feet. Now, we also have this board to grant relief to people from the terms of the zoning bylaw when it's required or makes sense or meets the criteria of a variance or to a special permit. And I do want to point out to anybody sitting at home that we might, we have no greater nonconformity of a structure being created if this is in fact built. So,
It's only the kitchen that causes us. It's only the kitchen that causes us, actually.
yeah. I don't know that I fully understand why the interior staircase can't be utilized, but so be it. We'll take it on the merits of the petition that you've brought to us. And we have the following, which is a email dated March 27 from the from the Board of Health, Amy Van Hoen, who indicates that the Health Department file indicates an existing 2016 Title V septic system with a maximum capacity of 4 bedrooms. The interior, your main home now has how many bedrooms?
3.
All right. So we'll be creating 1 more bedroom consistent with the existing septic.
Yes.
She goes on to say that the existing house has a total of 3 bedrooms with a future proposal to construct a 4th bedroom above the garage. The septic system is currently designed to accommodate the proposed 1-bedroom family-related apartment. Full review of the project by the Health Department will be required prior to final approval. You understand that to be true, do you?
Yes.
All right, and then we have I agree with and support petition number 4798 regarding 9 Jaybird Lane, West Yarmouth, Mass. 02673. And you're going to have to help me with this. Veriselma Pasquarini? Did I get that right?
Not sure.
Because it'd probably be a first that I got somebody's name right since I've been sitting on this board. All right. Does anybody in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, come to the microphone at the lectern.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
You dealt with an architect with these drawings.
Yes.
Did you tell him to design to 800 square feet?
No.
Did you tell him to design to?
Well, we told them to use the space that we already had, and
But you knew the requirement was.
no,
800.
actually, we didn't know
Not at the
until
time.
after. No. I'm sorry.
It's a heck of a way to find out.
You know, pardon me?
It's a heck of a way to find out.
Well, it is, but, I mean, there's the issue of having her move in with us, you know, there were a lot of other dynamics going
There's also
on.
the issue of keeping it in the context of what's allowed by law.
Oh, I understand that, and I would respect that if we knew that beforehand.
Once you found out, did you ask them to go back and take a look to see if they could redesign?
No.
Well, the stairs is still the issue, and we need a stairs that's on the inside.
Which I applaud. I like those much better than exterior staircases, but
And so the space is just created as a result of building the garage. And so we would like to use it if possible. It's there. What puts us over the 800 is building that 3rd garage, which we do need to house the stairs and keep it on the inside.
Well, you can build that as a matter of right. Okay? You go and get a building permit. There's nothing that you need but this board's relief for to
For
build that
the
third garage.
Garage,
It's
yes.
the kitchen.
It's just
It's a kitchen, yeah.
some space above the 3rd garage is created, and since it's there, we thought we could use it. We would like to use it if possible for my mother. It's under 800 with the existing space.
Anything else, Susan?
No, thank you.
Okay. So does anybody in our audience care to speak in favor of the petition? Come to the microphone. Seeing none, does anybody care to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we then close it to board, to the public's commentary on the petition, open it up to board discussion and deliberations. We'll start with you, Susan. What are your thoughts, please?
My thoughts are, I think that
I just ask you to pull your mic over if you would.
when anyone is intending to come before a public board to ask for relief or ask for permission to do anything, I do think it's incumbent upon the petitioner to find out the context within which they're dealing. I'm stunned that you embarked upon this and did not find out what the requirements or the dimensions were for what is acceptable for an accessory dwelling unit. I really am. And then added on to that, it's not just a few feet, it's 25% beyond what we would allow. So I just think that I just am disappointed, quite frankly, that
That's what I'm asking. How big
you put the board in a position where, we're supposed to be evaluating applications when people have done their utmost to comply with what the law requires. And I'm disappointed that that did not happen. It makes it very, very hard to support it. It really does. The sentiment is it's easy to get permission than forgiveness. Or it's easy to get forgiveness than permission. It doesn't sit well with me at all. Not when you're asking a board to waive what is standard practice and should be standard practice in the town. Those are my thoughts, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Nicanello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just my final thoughts. If you took out the staircase, you reduce it, you're still going to be over 1,000. I understand the complexity of it, and you're trying to help your mom out with some hardship. As the chairman says, it doesn't do anything on the outside. It's very nice. You have a right to build a garage. It's just the upstairs, and you want to utilize the whole house, which makes sense to me. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Mr. Martin?
Yeah, I understand the other board members' concern about precedent and the fact that it's bigger, and maybe it should have been thought out a little bit better, but I can also understand I don't know if the word's hardship, but I can understand the fact that trying to work with what you're doing and accomplish what you want, I can see this becoming bigger than what we might normally like to see. All that said and done, the bigger in terms of space does seem to be allotted to the extra stairway, does seem to be allotted to a bigger bath and closet than might be normal. I don't think that takes away from the intent of the bylaw by having a little bit bigger bath and closet and maybe some dormers and so forth that are going to make it look better from the outside than what it might otherwise look like if you were trying to shrink it down a little bit. So I think these have to be taken on a case-by-case basis, certainly, and I find the extenuating circumstances here relevant to what's trying to be accomplished and how well it looks and how it meets all other criteria relevant to setbacks and lot coverage and anything else makes it okay in terms of how I'm considering it anyways. Thank you.
Mr. Neitz?
I don't dispute the fact that this is, a far nicer and more livable design than any other accessory apartments or family-related apartments that we've probably ever approved. But I still have a problem with that 25% bigger than what the bylaw requires, and when you're dealing with new space and the incorporation of some other old space that wasn't used, the bylaw still applies. And I just have difficulty with the idea that you're not, particularly in light of the fact that this is a subject that's been under review very recently, kind of at the same time, concurrently with the time frame that we're working on this, the planning board is having hearings to propose a new bylaw for accessory apartments in the town, and chose to keep it at the 800 square foot size for the future. And I'm not privy to their deliberations as to why they did that, but it seems to me that it would be kind of difficult for us to justify to the planning board such relief at the same time that they're promulgating another bylaw regarding accessory apartments in the town and retaining that 800 square feet. Again, when I started before, I prefaced it by saying, we have given relief for these apartments in the past, and I think I participated in those decisions, but they weren't 25% larger,
And they were usually on existing structures.
and they were usually within an existing structure. When you start building something and make it bigger, you can justify it in your own mind as to why, but it doesn't justify the exclusion or the exception from the bylaw. And I don't think I can support it, and I haven't been given any reason to expect that the petitioner has given any thought to reducing the size. I would be inclined, a long time ago, I was told by a learned member of this board, don't try to redesign somebody's plan when they come before you, but I think you could cut it down so that it wasn't 1024, as our board member designated, he figured it had been. If you take out the stairs, I'd be supportive of taking out the stairway. I'd be supportive of shrinking that dining area when there's obviously a breakfast bar or something that's there.
Yeah, that was put in there, that's not part of it, but yes.
You know, and you know, the big closet in the bathroom when there's a good-sized closet in the bedroom. To many, that's, you know, that's inclusive of what we've denied in the past as a storage room. When we see a closet that big, it's probably not for clothes, it's probably for storage of household items,
No.
which is all part of the square footage in the bylaw.
The closet in the bedroom is actually a half closet. That's on one of those, what's that wall called?
Knee wall.
Yeah, it's on a knee wall, so, I mean, it's not even a real closet.
Right.
No, it's not.
No, I agree with you, yeah, because it's on the slant.
Okay.
Right,
Well,
right.
again, I'm not trying to redesign your petition, but I haven't heard anything that can convince me to give a 25% variance from the bylaw.
Yeah.
So basically, if we don't use the space over the garage, or use half of the space over the garage.
That's for you to decide, not for us to,
Well, we
not
can't
for
move
us.
the bathroom, because that's where the septic and everything else.
I understand.
The only way to
I'm
do
not,
that.
I'm not a professional designer.
Let me bring some order to it. We're not going to redesign the plan. We're just giving you our thoughts on it, whether or not we can support it. Both Susan and I, and maybe Tom, sat in on the planning board's submission of changes to this entire section of the bylaw, and it was very specific, if memory serves me correct, that it was, this particular section was going to remain at 800 square feet, which tells me that, you know, we just take our direction from what the town gives us. You know, we're not the people that make the bylaws, and I'm not suggesting they failed in making the bylaw. I'm actually kind of supportive of the changes they're making. But we are only the group that says, is there a reason to give relief? And under the reasons to give relief, frankly, I don't see it, okay? And my concern, and the same concern that's been expressed in this town since the accessory bylaw came into being, is that we're not creating situations that ultimately become then rental units after it's no longer utilized as a family-related apartment. And we're not going to permit that. We're not going to permit it without having come before this board and gaining the relief necessary to create a two-family accommodation. So I'm not going to support it. I can see alternatives. I can see that there's 800 square feet that exist, and an exterior staircase could be built with no third garage bay. But I do want to point out to you as petitioners that we, you've now heard two of us are not going to support it, which would mean that the
Right.
vote would fail. And we would, and have always extended to petitioners the opportunity to withdraw the petition without prejudice, allowing you to then to resubmit perhaps a new application with some changes or the like, or to continue the matter if you want to submit to us some ideas for changes. We're not going to give you those ideas for how to change it to make it acceptable. But I can tell you right now, I see no compelling reason that this needs to be greater than 800 square feet, though I absolutely agree with Mr. Mr. Martin, that 1,000 square feet is not unreasonable for a living accommodation. But we didn't write the bylaw. We're here to enforce it. I'd love it to be 1,000 square feet, quite candidly. Okay, and if we take out those two squares of staircase, we reduce it by 112 square feet. So it's really now only 112 square feet of actual living space, but we're required to count in staircases, storage closets, and everything else under our bylaw. Whatever is habitable is counted. And so as a consequence, understanding what our bylaw provides for, I'm not going to support it. So it fails. Now, it's up to you. If you wish us to bring it to a vote, we will bring it to a vote. If you would like to ask that it be withdrawn without prejudice so that you could submit another plan or another petition at some point in the very near future, we'd be willing to do that. And lastly, I think we likely would be willing to grant you a continuance if you want to go back to your architect and see if we can get some way to get it reduced in size. Also, if you choose the last, then I ask you to consider having your architect put on there dimensional lines telling us what he calculates is the square, the lines and lengths and widths of the structure. Because I don't think I should be sitting here looking at a ruler from an architecturally drawn plan
Absolutely.
to count the dimensions of this structure. So what would be your pleasure on how you would like us to proceed? Do you want us to proceed to a vote? Would you like to continue the matter, which we'd be, I think, probably very happy to accommodate? We understand your need to get relief in any event for an accessory apartment for your mom. Or would you like to withdraw it? And that withdrawal, we would suggest, would likely be without prejudice.
We'd like to
And if you want to step back and discuss it, the two of you, we're happy.
So we can continue and resubmit, is that?
No,
is
it
that how works?
continue for whatever purpose you'd like. You've heard what we've talked about. It's very unlikely we're going to consider anything over 800 square feet. Possibly, I could see us talking about a staircase within the new garage, but eliminating all of that other space within there, save for a vestibule to come into the main 800 square foot apartment. I know I could support that. I can't
could
speak
too.
for anybody else, but I could support that. But I'm not going to support this great of a deviation because it opens the door for a lot of problems. And not only that, I don't think it's in with the spirit and nature of the bylaw, nor do I see any reason for the grant of a variance. I don't know how we would meet the criteria for a variance, quite honestly. And if any neighbor appealed, I think they'd win on the appeal. So I don't think we can make arbitrary and capricious decisions concerning your particular needs that are contrary to the nature and intent of the bylaw, and that's what we're stuck with, okay? As much as we'd love to say yes,
It's easy
honestly.
to say yes. You know, it's-
So would you like the opportunity to perhaps continue it to another date? And then maybe you can come up with a solution, hearing our comments. And the only thing we would need from you is for you to tell us how much time you think you would need for that and to sign an extension agreement. if you don't, the extension agreement's required, because otherwise, you might be granted relief on the petition should we not act within a certain period of time. And so we would need you to agree to an extension of this. And what would be a meeting that would be available that we could hear this on? May 9?
May 9 or 23rd.
Would that give you enough time, do you think?
Ninth would be fine.
Okay.
Filling up fast. No, not necessarily.
Well, we're filling up our May 9th meeting, but we'll try to keep you on the agenda real quick, okay? So I would need one of the, I don't know who actually signed it, either John or Jean, to come up and please sign this application, this acknowledgement of a continuation to May 9, if you'd sign right there. There you go. No, right here, right where it says applicant, yeah. Okay, thank you so very much. And we'll see you then, and we hope to be able to grant you the relief you're looking for then, okay?
Second.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make a final comment?
Sure.
I do think, you know, the bylaws are...
Petitioners, wait, just a minute before you leave, because Ms.
Just
Britta
want to
had
make a final comment. I know that this is, the bylaws are going to be voted, new proposed amendments. So it's going to be a topic that not only are the Lions going to have to deal with, but everyone in Yarmouth. I think it's vitally important, before people come before any board seeking relief, they know the context within which they're dealing. You have to know that right now the rule is 800. It's probably going to stay 800 unless someone offers an amendment to town hall. And because then when you come before the board, we know that you've done your homework, you're making your presentation. If you can't meet 800, but you've got a reason for it, as Mr. Neat said, we're certainly willing to consider that. But to not know what the requirements are before you come before the board makes it very, very difficult for us to justify any waiver.
We look forward to seeing you on that night. Thank you. And I think Ms. Britta says it absolutely accurately,
Bingo.
let me tell you. If only everybody came prepared, we would probably be out of here by now. All right, so that brings us to our next one. And that is petition number
Another one to turn down.
4799, CIK Auto Group Incorporated. Come right up to the table and join us.
If you dare.
Doing business as Cape and Islands Kia, located 760 Route 28, South Yarmouth. That property is in a B2 zoning
Hope
district.
Chester would come.
The applicant this evening is seeking a special permit under zoning bylaw 303.1.3 and 303.5.5.2, and/or a variance from zoning bylaw 303.5.5.2 for two attached signs. I wonder when people draw these applications, does anyone make a decision, should it be, and this is another thing, like Ms. Britta, that bothers me. It bothers me that we are given two alternative reliefs without anybody doing the homework on what should be the relief we should be considering.
Well, sometimes the building commissioner gives them.
Oh, I understand.
Statute.
The building commissioner.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand the bill. That's my point, Mr. Needs.
Yeah.
Thank you for emphasizing it.
Yes.
I'm certainly not blaming these two handsome men sitting in front of me. And in that regard, why don't you tell me who you are, gentlemen?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name's Stephen Sewell.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm the president of Cape and Islands Kia.
We've seen you once or twice.
Yes, it's good to
And
see
who's
you
that
all
gentleman
again.
sitting next to you there?
This guy needs no introduction.
Oh, he
I'll
does
let
to
him
me.
introduce,
And to our audience.
So we have Teddy Zambellis with us.
Yeah.
We would have brought the real mascot of the dealership, but we couldn't sneak the dog in tonight. He was busy. Happy
So
Chester.
is he that man that I see on TV with, isn't there a funny animal in the
That's
vehicle
Chester.
with
Our
him?
buddy Chester, yeah.
That's who we're talking about.
Huh?
That's Chester.
That's the real president, but not tonight.
Well, good evening, gentlemen. Why don't you go ahead and tell us all about your petition this evening?
Okay. Basically, we've been working on Cape and Islands Kia. We're doing some improvements that have already been approved by the board. And we're kind of coming down to the last piece of it, which is my signs. So what we have here is the Kia sign that's approved up there now, the round oval. I don't know if you have it in front of you. I do have some color copies. If that's bothering you, I'll get it to you.
I think we've got it.
So what we want to do is put the name Cape and Islands on the building. And one of the reasons for that is, well, it's a couple reasons. One is we're a Kia dealership. Other Kia dealerships are my competition, so we distinctly want to let people know that this is Cape and Islands Kia, which would be common practice at all Kia dealerships, be it a Bach Kia or Defunction Kia or Quirk Kia. So we want to get the name out there, and you know, we also feel that, you know, where Kia was kind of over at, used to be Cape Kia, you know, we want to distinct ourselves as Cape and Islands Kia so people see it and get it right.
And the service, are you looking for relief on the service side?
No, what I've decided, and I went to, so Kia requires, but up to, they want a bunch of signs. They want one on the side, they want one on the right side, one on the front. And, you know, we're just trying to make this a little more Cape Cod-ish, so I've actually told them that I wasn't going to attempt to get the service sign. There's a directional sign to service. I don't really think we need it over the door. I don't want this to look like a, you know, skyscraper factory. So just trying to go with what I need there. Plus, it saves me 15 grand.
You know, taking up on Ms. Britta's comments of earlier today to our last petitioner, I always find that when you fellows come in, you come in prepared.
Well,
And just for myself, I'm just going to butt in and say I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
thank you.
We all do.
Okay. Who did we start with the last time? I think
Me.
you.
No, you started with me.
Okay, we start with you.
Okay, sure.
Susan Britta, please.
The concept of promoting Cape and Island I like, rather than just plain old Kia. But these signs are going to be on the building, not on that sign on Route 28? Is that what you're saying?
That'd be correct,
So
so,
you're not going to put Cape and Island on 28, which is
No.
really where it would make most sense.
you know, the factories have certain designs, so when you look at the building, you kind of know where it's at, and to mess with that sign out front would be ugly, and it's probably.
Well, it would be nice if it were a different design, but your concept is to have it on the building as opposed to the sign out front.
Correct.
Okay. And it is, tell me the materials, it's not going to be, is it a backlit sign, or is it going to
So
be?
those are individual letters.
Oh, they're not going to be lit, are they?
They do light,
Oh, heavens.
they do light.
How are they lit?
They're lit with, I believe it would be LEDs, probably.
That's what your,
that what
that's what your
it says?
specifications
Yeah,
on
see, I
the
don't
drawing.
have
The
it. I
LED
don't know what-
illumination.
Okay, so it's going to be, and what time does it get lit?
It's dark.
It lights probably at dusk
It stays
until,
on, and then.
and then
goes
the
out
time
again
it goes
on.
off, I think it's around midnight, 1 in the morning.
Yeah, so the individual signs, individual letters on either side of your entranceway.
They do light as well as the Kia sign that's there now.
Yeah, the existing one,
Yep.
okay. Well, my only, I'm not wild about backlit letters and this, I like your sign, I like the shape of it, I don't like backlit lights anyway. But I do like the idea of promoting Cape and Island, I think that's it's a good concept as we try to do something along Route 28 to distinguish us a little bit from any other Kia. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I have no comments. I think it's good advertising. It's tasteful, although backlit. I'm not wild about backlit signs. I'll say that now for the third time. But I think it's a good approach.
Thank you, Susan.
Mr. Nicanello.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Yeah, you got a lot of inventory over there, huh? Big floor plan.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
yes, along with that does come a big floor plan bill.
I can't really tell. What's the distance from the street to the front of the building?
You know, I would have to say that that's 100 yards or so.
It's about a
No,
football field.
maybe
That's
100.
what I thought.
Football field.
Not 100.
Just an estimate, sure.
And the height of the letters on that building, the
The height of the
proposed,
letters are 2 feet.
2 feet. So
24
it's really,
Yep.
it's really set far back, and when you lit up, it's going to pop. It's going to be nice.
Yep.
And it's going to go out when you
Clean,
close.
It'll kind of go with the Kia and then I'll
Yeah.
have the name
Yeah.
against the new backing that it's already been approved.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then summer's coming, it doesn't get dark till late, so they won't
That's
come
true.
on till
That's
light.
true.
Yeah,
That's true.
so, but,
We'll save some electricity.
well, you got the right type of bulb, so anyways. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's all.
Mr. Martin?
So you're looking for relief in the number of signs, and you're looking for relief on the, is that in the request too for the size of the sign because of the height?
So,
Is that incorporated into the relief requested?
yeah, so I think the special permit has to do with, it would be the square footage of the total sign on the front of the building.
Yeah.
Um,
I think, I just want to make sure you're covered in terms of what you're asking for.
Appreciate
Relevant to that second sign is also oversized in terms of height based on what's normally allowed. Did you consider, in terms of at least not having to worry about the number of signs, and I think it would both look better and sound better, if we had one larger sign in the middle of the building that said Cape and Islands Kia? Then suddenly you only got the one sign again. Maybe it would be a little bit too big. It's 60 square feet or something, I think, for the...
Well, I think total signage is the other issue. So
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, but...
the one out in
but
the
if they
street
had-
needed relief.
Right. So the one in the street already has relief, but now we're looking for two in the front of the building, which needs relief because there's two in the front of the building. We could potentially make that one in front of the building and need less relief relevant to that. I actually think it would look better, too, and sound better.
Well, I certainly think it's a good point, if I could comment on that. So Kia, like every car dealership manufacturer, the first problem is I can't, the Kia sign that you look at, I can't buy, because it's a registered trademark. You know, when you go to a Kia dealership, they want it to be a certain sign, a certain way. It's something that I can't build. As they're also building the Cape and Islands letters. So they don't want you going to the Norwood, the Auto Mile, this or that. Although they make different sizes, I don't have that option to build everything in one box. It's just the way the manufacturer does it. And I'm sure they spend stupids of billions of dollars figuring out this is the way we want our signs to look. I can't go and change one on them.
Well, I might believe General Motors spent billions, but I'm not sure Kia spent any more
Half a
than a couple
billion.
hundred.
So you're saying that you couldn't call it Cape and Islands Kia, even if there's a little separation or whatever the case may be, that couldn't be
Well-
one sign? I mean, I know other
the-
other dealerships do have, like, there's a number of them that have that.
Well, there's a possibility that I could move the signs closer together, so you kind of have Kia, Cape and Islands.
I like Cape and Islands Kia better.
Does have a nice ring.
Can't change their name, Richard.
But isn't that the name of the dealership?
That's
Cape and
that's it.
Islands, the
Cape
Kia?
and Islands, Kia. yeah.
And they won't, your principal will not allow Kia to come after the name? I mean, it would seem to be a simple switch to put, even if you didn't join them together,
So in other words,
Cape and Islands on the left, Kia on the right.
it's quite possible. I can't say for sure.
I think it's good, I mean, I
But,
just think it
Can
makes sense to
reverse
me.
them? Are you saying to reverse them?
Well, I think it reads better, number one, and then if it's all together, then you don't have two signs anymore, you got one sign.
Push it together and center it. If you can't do if you can't do two lines, push them together and center it and call it Cape and Islands.
I mean, this almost looks like two
Read left to
businesses to
right.
me.
You read left to right, so it would make more sense if you're going to try to do it.
Yeah.
Do them left to
So
right.
maybe, let me just give you a little better picture. It's my wife Heather, by the way.
Uh-oh, the technical
It's a
staff
little
is now
hard to tell, so I
approaching.
came a little prepared.
But this is the
She
look
said
that
she was
they
gonna be
look
Vanna
for right
White
here.
tonight, so.
All right, what you know, excuse me, Steve, if I could. If you're going to stand, it's perfectly okay, but you need to speak, bring your mic with you, okay?
No problem. So, if you look here.
Yep.
So right now, we have the approved engineering plans for the white here. The Kia sign here, which has been approved on the building. This is their look. It gives me a lot less awning. It's just unfortunately, I gotta deal with the cars that they give me at times. And again, my $32,000 1-foot awning, it doesn't seem like it's gonna protect from the rain or the snow, but I have it there. I have to take a nice awning off. So as you can see, if that went in, I just don't know if it would actually, this is the way that they have all their stores, and there's 870 of them in the United States.
That's how they
It's a lot of like,
Well, I'm gonna show you one more
it's
picture.
a lot of like the Golden Arches then, huh? Yeah.
Well, I'm trying not to be that type, but, yes.
I do like that other awning.
So, this is just kinda, what they first proposed to me was a sign here, a sign here, a sign here, a service sign here.
And that's a
There's a couple
no.
other signs.
Tell them that's a
So
no.
I already told them that's a negative.
Well, you're not going to
I
have the
wouldn't-
palm trees either.
I wouldn't even bring that up here. So,
Unless it gets it from the Nicanellos. I don't know.
Come on now. Palm trees, yeah.
Where were we, Mr. Martin? Did you have any other questions?
I think that's the only questions I have. I'd like to know just how much relief we're looking on in terms of total size, square footage, and so forth. I'm not sure if we have that anywhere.
I didn't see it.
yeah, so 2 feet high is within the bylaw, is my understanding, is the 2-foot. So we're okay there. We come up to a total of 41.42 square feet,
Yeah.
These are 2 feet because
That's 20 feet long.
2 feet high.
the
Even-
old Kia sign on the building, as per the previous,
It wasn't on the building.
this existing attached sign, or did that go away?
So we're looking at the added Cape and Islands.
Okay. I'm just looking at the last relief that was given was for the new sign on the building, which was 3.3 feet instead of 2 feet.
That was the one up front.
That's
That
the
is the
front.
one up front?
Oh, yeah, that's the
That's
front.
the one up
Yeah,
front.
28 sign.
But it's saying as opposed to 2 feet allowed by the bylaw, because that's not 2 feet on the bylaw for the freestanding sign. 2 feet is on the building.
Correct. That's
Not
what
wet.
we're talking about, the building, right? Or you're talking about the
Well, I'm
pilot?
looking at the old decision from
The
a
attached
couple
sign
years
is
ago.
44 square feet.
It's-
The
I think
atta-
that's talking about the attached sign.
Yeah, it says the attached sign. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well,
So the attached
didn't we
sign
grant
now
you
on the
relief?
building.
Didn't you need relief for the Kia sign as well?
Yes, yes, on the
Yeah,
street.
I know that's oversized on the freestanding sign, and
Okay.
that's not being looked at or changed. Nobody's having an issue
And
here with
I
that.
think that was granted relief too, the one on the building.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So there's one on the
Yes.
building now that's apparently had relief,
Had
that's
relief.
apparently 3.3 feet tall instead of the 2 feet that's normally allowed.
Makes sense,
Okay.
yes.
So we're looking at a much bigger Cape and Island sign that's also going to be the same height, apparently, of 3.3 feet.
No,
No,
It's not,
2 feet.
so it's 2 feet
2 feet.
high.
2 feet high.
So
Letters are 2 feet high.
It's going to be about 41 square
So it's
feet,
going to be
right?
smaller than the height of the Kia sign?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smaller. And, it says 41 feet, but keep in mind the individual letters, if you, I don't know if,
No, but we have to look at the whole sign.
look at
It's
the
2
whole
feet by
square.
20 plus.
Okay.
It's about 41 square feet.
41.42, I think you said.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, because of the circle, I guess, on the Kia. Okay, that's all I have.
Mr. Neitz?
This is in conjunction with a total redesign of the front of the building? With the change in the awning and?
Correct.
The sign that's there now on the building?
Yes.
Is up, is there gable end there? Or
so it's on the, yes.
it's like in the peak, isn't it?
Yes.
Doesn't the roof come
Correct.
to like that and
Yes.
the sign's like right here?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to reuse that sign and just bring it down?
Same sign.
Same sign,
So it's the same sign,
yes.
and then the Cape and Islands letters are 2 feet high and would be on the right side. I don't have any problem, I don't think, with the separation of the two signs. I mean, you're utilizing an existing sign that's already there for the Kia and moving that down and to the left of the building. And then you're just adding the
name.
2 feet high letters, which designates the definition of the Cape and Islands Kia
Yeah,
on the right side. I think it does give it a little bit more balance, personally. And I don't think I have any problem with that. I might have suggested that the service was going to ask for a little bit more than, we don't have a lot of dealerships in town to compete with from the standpoint of asking for similar signs. And you own the only other one anyway, right?
Well, I'm the only one with new car dealerships in Yarmouth, yes.
Yeah, but you own the other one, the Mitsubishi dealer too, right? Okay.
We're full for car dealerships.
Yes.
I second that.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Well, I know he's a man who always has something to say, so Mr. Zambella, do you have anything that you'd like to say to us this evening before you move on?
No, it's a pleasure.
Well, it's so good to
seeing all of
see
you,
you.
and thank
So
you for
good to see you.
all your consideration.
This isn't just a personal appearance, it's not a speaking engagement.
So, honestly, I just, when the name of the dealership is Cape and Islands Kia, I don't mean to make mountains out of nothing but anthills, but I kind of get the Kia wants Kia to be the most prominent sign.
Absolutely.
And so, as
switch 'em around.
Susan did point out, we do read left to right. And we see Kia as the trademark up on the street, which was, my memory is, was a sign you unfortunately had to pay for, and we're either going to throw away if we didn't give you relief or move over here.
That's right.
And then we come, boy, I'm getting pretty good. That was 2 years ago. Wow. And then we come now to the relief we gave you last time was to reduce the 41.2 square foot sign that existed and allow, instead of 27 square foot sign that was 3 feet tall. Generally, I'm using general suggestion of what we did. So somehow we're now back to a 41 square foot sign, which is, I think, I echo Ms. Britta's comment, absolutely. It's wonderful to see that we are advertising Cape Cod on Route 28 in an attractive manner. I think you've kept that dealership remarkable. I think that the inventory in front of it is the eye catcher, not the sign on the building, but that, so be it. I don't even look at the sign on the building because, frankly, it is about 300 feet back from the road. I look at the sign Kia when I drive down the road, and I'm happy to see a successful dealership there instead of an unused piece of property for a change.
That's right.
And so I wish you much success. Personally, I don't think that this is a very significant deviation and is so unique, as Mr. Neitz points out, so unique to our town at this location, because there is only one other you say there are 3 in Yarmouth that you have? Two. And they're the only 2.
Right.
And I don't know if we were ever going to allow another car dealership unless maybe we take down the air park, but I can't see that coming down.
I second that.
Maybe a Jaguar dealership, Mr. Chairman.
Well, they're going to expand. They're going to be expanding that park. I can tell you it's going to take up all of Route 28 from Bass River to Hyannis if they have their way.
Steve wants a Maserati, can you carry those?
You got it.
So in any event, I can speak favorably on the petition. There's no correspondence on the petition that we've received. I'm going to tell everybody at home that there's nobody speaking in opposition or in support of the petition, since we're the only people in the room. And so we now close it to the public commentary and input into it, and open it up to board discussions and deliberations. Anybody have a thought they'd like to express?
Just, Mr. Chairman, just one. In addition to all the laudatory comments that were made, I do appreciate the attention you pay to the trees out front along Route 28. And you keep that stretch immaculately clean. So in addition to having a backlit sign, you do keep the place clean, and the trees look, they have been well-attended, and they're make a nice addition to Route
Well,
28.
thank you, I really do appreciate that, and again, I'd like to thank you all, just because it's been a really successful business, and without some hoops that we've jumped through, I didn't have to jump through hoops, but without everybody's help and kind of a new adventure together, it wouldn't have happened, and we've just got a lot of great accolades. We're in the top 10 as far as sales in all of New England. And
Fabulous.
That's fabulous.
And even most importantly, we've come in #1 in CSI, which is customer satisfaction. And with these manufacturers, you can't fake that. You got to earn it. And there's an awful lot of dealerships in New England, and I'm very proud of my team. that
Well, let
brings
me
in
also say to you
that
that
number
you're
one.
also taking 2 locations that had been sorely and poorly utilized over their history, and apparently are making them very successful, and for that, we're thankful to any business person that will invest in our
Thanks a lot.
town as well. So, does anybody care to make a motion, or does the board want to have any discussion before moving along? And I just want to clarify that we're not talking the service sign at all.
Correct.
Okay.
Dawn's up.
So the service sign is not part of the...
Service
okay.
not part.
Excuse me. And I just want to say that I'm fine. I'm happy with your what's the word I'm looking for? I keep losing words.
Presentation?
Well, presentation. We'll go with that. And I'm happy that the Cape and Islands isn't over the 2 feet. There is a huge distance from the road, and therefore it's not going to be overbearing relevant to the size. And I think it's a logical request, and I would concur with the chairman's comments about what a well-run business you have.
Thank you, Mr. Mark.
All right, does anybody wish to make a motion, perhaps?
Chairman, I'll make a motion, petition 4799, Cape and Island Kia Auto Group, that we allow the special permit under the zoning bylaw 303.1.3 and 303.5.5.2, provided they take back their variance request.
And that would be without prejudice, sir.
Removing the request for the variance. Yeah.
And
I'll second that.
And not including the service sign.
Okay, so we have a motion with a second. If you just give me a second, please. So I think that we need to have some discussion about specifically what relief is being asked for. In this sign code, in order to grant a special permit, we must make findings that the relief requested meets the spirit and intent of this bylaw, and that the result will be visually and aesthetically beneficial to the neighborhood. Can we concur that that is the case with what we're seeing here as the additional sign?
Agree.
Yes.
I think so.
We're making findings to that effect?
Yep.
All right. So in that sense, I agree too that we could probably do it by special permit, and because you do meet those criteria as well. So on that motion, made by Mr. Nicanello, seconded by Mr. Neitz.
Martin.
Mr. Martin? Who seconded?
I did.
Mr. Martin seconded that the grant of special permit, that we grant the special permit on the condition that the petitioner seeks the withdrawal of the request for variance relief, such request to be granted without prejudice. Is that what you're asking, if we grant the special permit? We
Yes,
can't
Mr.
leave a
Chairman.
variance out there, is the
Mr.
point.
Chairman, yes.
Okay. So on that motion made by Mr. Nicanello, seconded by Mr. Martin, please, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries unanimously. Now, on the request for a withdrawal of the variance, I think we ought to still do a separate motion, that variance be withdrawn without prejudice. On that suggestion, who would make a motion?
I so move.
Mr.
Second.
Martin moves.
Second,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Nicanello seconds. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. A decision will be drafted. It will be drafted as quick as I can get to it, perhaps by tomorrow. It will then need to be filed in the town clerk's office. 20 days will then need to elapse before that grant of special permit is considered enforceable or granted fully. You will need to record proof of, record and provide proof of its recordation back to our board secretary, who will give you instructions on that, as only Ms. Clark is capable of doing. And thank you, gentlemen.
Great to see you all.
With
Thank
that,
you very much.
we do have, for those people that may be sitting at home, we do have an agenda item of election of officers. Regrettably, this evening, we only have 3 regular sitting members, and so, regular members of the board, and so we cannot elect officers this evening because we don't have a full board. You need at least 4 to do so. So we need to step that back, and with that being done, just because we can't, we don't need any vote on it, we just need to do it. And with that, we move to adjourn, and so we do adjourn, right?
We do it.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
Thank you.